Previously on the last Pokemon Crystal SuperMON run, Tendrils, and coming up, all I can imagine is a donkey trying to live-action roleplay as the Loch Ness Monster. Welcome along to another SuperMON challenge. This is the challenge where we scrap the timer and instead see just how far we can get with 4 moves and 1 attempt. Sometimes we get to the end, other times we struggle to even get past the first couple of gyms. And now, before I hand you over to the live run, if you do enjoy this type of content, please do make sure to like the video, let me know in the comments, and click the subscribe button. Lapras is a very interesting Pokemon when it comes to the SuperMON challenge. A lot of the issues we face with Lapras comes down to it learning its moves very late on, so we can't really get much coverage with it until the end part of a challenge run in a regular Crystal challenge. But we don't have that problem here in the SuperMON challenge because we're picking our 4 moves from the beginning. Having a look at the learn sets, there are so many different permutations of moves we could use for the Lapras challenge. I think having both Surf and Ice Beam is a given. But after that, I'm not too sure, you know. We could go for Thunderbolt and Psychic and just go all out attacking, but I'm not sure if when we get to the end game, especially Red, that would be a good idea. We're a mixed attacker, so we could add Body Slam into the mix, but again, I'm not sure if that's going to be the right idea. Another option is that we could go for something like Attract and run a much lower attacking DV, so run a female Lapras instead of a male Lapras. There's going to be a lot of different trial and error. Now, we might get very lucky and get all the way to the end of the challenge on our first try. It's all going to depend on what we want to do and how we want to play Lapras. Now, something I have coded to try and help out with the SuperMON runs is this little type checker. It's a tiny little Python script, and what I can do is I can enter in up to 4 attacking types, and then it will tell me what type combinations will be resisted or will be super effective, or some permutation of that with the attacking types we've done. So for instance, if we go for Water, Psychic, Ice and Electric, thank goodness it doesn't care about capitalization, you can see that we can hit everything for at least neutral damage. And in fact, we've got super effective on a lot of different type combinations. However, if we then forego, say, the electric type and just go Water, Psychic, Ice, you can see that with Water, Psychic and Ice, the only type combination we come up against that will be resisted is going to be Water, Psychic. That would be Slowbro and Starmie and any of those lines. Now, if we swap that out so that instead of Water, Psychic and Ice, we go for Water, Electric and Ice, everything is going to have neutral damage. So that means we could potentially then look at running Attract. These are the things we've got to consider for the course of this challenge, and I think we are going to try the Attract stats straight off the bat. I've done a bit more deliberating, and I think that is what we're going to do for our first attempt anyway. So we will start off by learning Surf. That should be fairly low down the list. I think Surf's going to be one of our main moves. Ice Beam's going to be fantastic for the first couple of gyms, so we'll absolutely be learning that. Then we are going to go for Thunderbolt, and then we'll put Attract in our final slot. Now, do remember, this is all about the longevity. It does not matter how long it takes us to get through the battles. All that matters is that we do get through the battles eventually. So let us now learn our final move, which will be Attract. That's going to be somewhere in this very long list of moves. There it is. And we will be ready for the SuperMON challenge. If you've got an idea for 4 moves as well, let me know now in the comments. What will you go for on your gut instinct? It could be similar to mine, it could be completely different. Lapras has a lot of coverage, and just because these are the 4 moves that I have picked, doesn't mean they're the right moves. It's all about trial and error. And now that we have committed to those 4 moves, we can get the challenge underway. I do think Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Surf and Attract is a very good, at least initial learn set. We'll probably do a lot of chopping and changing depending on where the roadblocks lie, but I can't see anything getting too far in our way, at least in the early part of this challenge. And we're not going to be focusing that much on stat experience in the first part of this challenge either. And that brings me on to something that a commenter mentioned in the Gengar SuperMON challenge, our first one together. And I just want to clarify a couple of things. Stat experience in this SuperMON challenge works exactly the same as it does in any Generation 2 game. So that means we haven't tweaked anything, vitamins are still limited, and we can still gain up to 65,535 points in each of the stats. Now how that works is by copying the base stat totals of the Pokemon you've knocked out into your stat experience. But if we hit the level cap, we are not going to get an update to our stats until we level up again. So there is a hard inbuilt limit to the amount of stat experience that we can gain to give ourselves an advantage. So it's not as overpowered as you might initially think. So I hope that does clear things up for you a little bit. Now, we didn't really have anything great for the rival. We've got moves that are super effective on each of them, so I went for Totodile. Not quite sure why I went for Totodile, but that is the Pokemon that the rival will be running throughout the course of this challenge. Now, also, I please hope you can all bear with me. My voice and my illness is a little bit back today, so I'm not feeling on top form, and hopefully my voice will get through this entire challenge with Lapras. I'm not feeling too bad in myself. I sound a lot worse than I actually feel, but I'm sure there'll be a couple of brain farty moments throughout the course of this particular run. Now, one thing to note about Lapras is that it is in the slow experience group, and that could actually prove to be a little bit of a benefit in these types of runs. Because even though I've just spent the last couple of minutes saying that stat experience won't be as important, because it's going to take us longer to level up, it does mean that we're able to gain more stat experience before we hit the level cap. On some of our earlier SuperMON challenges, by the time we get here to Wade, we're already well above the level cap with the amount of experience we would have earned. But we are not at the level cap as we're going to be going into Birdkeeper Rod. He isn't going to be too much of an issue, I don't think. I don't think Peck is going to do anything too bad to us. He might outspeed though, because we are only level 8. We'll use this opportunity to reorder our moves. Yeah, 5 HP of damage. Absolutely nothing to worry about at all. That means we can move on to Rod, and he has just a pair of Pidgey. We hit the level cap just in time for Falconer now. And because we're not on the clock, we are going to play it very, very safe. We probably don't need to use a potion, but we're going to anyway, as we engage Falconer in battle. This is for our next set of 3 points. He's a bird-type specialist, led with Pidgey that went down. We outspeed the Pidgeotto, we one-shot it as well, and we obtain our first badge, the Zephyr badge. That means we have 5 points on the board, 2 for the rival and 3 for Falconer. Our level cap has gone up to 16, and we can go up the tower. Not having to worry about the timer is still taking a lot of getting used to. I'm having to relearn how to play the game ostensibly after 3 years of playing it in a very specific way. I had that moment of freak out just a moment ago thinking, why am I climbing the tower so early on in a challenge where we don't need it? And then I remembered, it's because we need to get the escape rope. There's a reason why we go up here every single run for our SuperMON runs, because otherwise we're going to be spending money that we don't have on escape ropes, because we can't teach dig, because we're not getting the HM friends. I did decide as well not to assign a point to the top of Sprout Tower, because technically it is still optional. All of the storyline points that we take are the mandatory beats of the storyline, as opposed to this, which is a little bit out of the way and technically optional, because you can buy regular escape ropes. We are going to do a quick PP heal, and before we forget, we're going to get rid of this egg. We don't need the egg. In fact, when we get to the public release of this, I will find a way to completely remove the egg from the storyline and all catching in general. We pick up the Paralyzed Cure Berry there as well. And on stream, we have decided we are not going to cheese the berries. We're not going to use the Time Changer that is in the top floor of the Pokemon Centers to get extra berries. We get 1 from each tree, and that is the limit. because otherwise I think the challenge could become a little bit too easy. That means, for instance, we have just 2 mint berries. We have the mint berry by the Moo Moo Farm, and then there is another one in Pewter City. So we have to really be very careful with where we want to use our berries in these runs. And I think that adds another layer of strategy that would otherwise be removed if we were able to get berries every single time we wanted them just by changing the time on the clock. That's something as well that in our classic challenge runs I have always done. I never get more than 1 berry from each tree because I see it as against the spirit of the run, not necessarily cheating, but it does give you a bit of an artificial advantage. And now here we are in Slowpoke. Well, we're taking on the Rockets. This is going to be worth 1 point, and we've just hit our level cap and got some very nice health points for the experience as well. So I don't think we're going to have any issues at all in this early part of the challenge. We're one-shotting most things. I think the difficulty is going to ramp up probably towards the Elite Four. Just looking forwards, we might go down at Morty if we get some really bad luck. But other than that, we should have a fairly nice ride. We've defeated the Rocket there, we get our 6th point, and that means we can already go into the gym. We've got a couple of mandatory trainers in here. We're just going to surf all over the Spinnerack and do the same against the Ladybird. Now, if we were slower than the Ladybird, that could have confused us, but because we're running with a 0 DV in attack, confusion isn't as dangerous as it would otherwise have been if we were running with a max attacking Lapras. So that's something I want to start bringing into our classic challenge runs as well, because as you may have seen, they're not really going anywhere. They're just down to once a week for now, while we find our feet with the SuperMON challenges. And with that, we have just 1 more gym trainer left to go. Let us again do a very quick safety heal, probably don't need to, and we'll take on Bugsy. He is our 2nd gym leader of the challenge, a bug-type specialist who leads with Metapod. So 1 shot on the Metapod with Surf, that means it's a 1 shot on the Kakuna with Surf, and then it's probably going to be a range with Ice Beam on the Scyther. We crit, so we will never ever know. Hive Badge acquired, another 3 points to our name. We get TM49 to sell for some money, and we can take on rival number 2. This time he's going to lead with Ghastly. I don't think the Ghastly is going to be problematic. We can get rid of it with a Surf, and we are on to Croconaw. Thunderbolt should do a 2-shot on the Croconaw as scratch crits for minimal damage, and that just leaves Zubat, and we got 2 super effective moves for the Zubat, so it was guaranteed to go down. What a very, very smooth start to this challenge. And now as we're heading through the forest reuniting the bird with its people, I'm aware that there are occasional audio stutters when I do my live voiceovers, and I haven't been able to figure out what on earth is causing them. So I am looking for an alternative to OBS at the moment to try and do the recordings, because it only ever happens when we're recording through OBS. When I do my post voiceovers, like we used to do with the classic challenges way back, and what we do for things like the Kanto chat and the intros, it doesn't happen. And when I record through Discord, it doesn't happen. It's literally just through OBS, so I am trying to work on the issue. I know it can be a little bit frustrating hearing all of these audio issues, but it is something I am working on. And one thing I have noticed is it doesn't seem to happen on stream. And while we're on the topic of stream, I'm currently using all of our streams together to get a little bit of info on some of the SuperMON runs. What happens is, every few streams we open up the queue and everybody gets to suggest 1 Pokémon for the SuperMON challenge, and we run them in stream, fairly rapid fire, just to gather a little bit of intel ready for its actual run, which will happen at some point in the future. Now, I stream a couple of times a week. The times are all over the place because, as you all know by now, I don't really have a sleep pattern. It's more of a sleep mess. So if you do want to catch them, make sure you are subscribed. And I would be delighted to give your favourite Pokemon a run through the Crystal SuperMON challenge as well. I'm eventually going to open it up to backports, but I do want to get a few of the native Generation 2 Pokemon on the board to begin with, so we have a little bit of a benchmark before we start seeing what power creep can do. Now we've grabbed the Quick Claw, I think that's going to be very, very useful, considering we only have 60 in our speed stat, and I think we'll be giving that in preparation for the Whitney battle. The Whitney battle is where we're heading right about now. We've just got to get through last carry first, and then we can take Whitney on. It's a one-shot with Surf on the Snubble. I wasn't expecting anything less. So let's give her a go. There is a very, very slight chance we go down here, depending on rollout luck, and depending on metronome luck as well. I was trying to paralyse Clefairy there, but it didn't happen. We're on 79 HP for the Miltank. Oh, she's going for Stomp. Didn't matter. Two-shot with Surf, Quick Claw prop. Whitney, I'm sorry, that really wasn't a fair battle for you. But thank you for giving the playing badge and getting us up to 14 points on the board. That means we have a fresh level cap as well, all the way up to 25, and we've got a lot of battles that we can take on. I'm trying a slightly different ordering in this one as well. I'm doing this section here in the underground after we've taken on Whitney, so that we can get a little bit more out of our battles. Because I noticed in some of the previous SuperMON runs, we were hitting the level cap and still taking on a lot of battles. And because we're not against the clock, we don't need to worry about doing them in the most efficient order time-wise. We can do them in the most efficient order experience-wise instead. We've got just one Kimono Girl left to go here in Ecruteak City. It is the Jolteon. It could do a fair amount of damage, but we do get another Quick Claw activation, and that means that we can get ourselves the Raft. With one more battle, we should be at the level cap for the next gym. We'll get rid of this Lickitung. Isn't it a hideous Pokemon, Lickitung? I do like Licky Licky though, so I really am not one to talk about Pokemon taste. I'm going to get the Fly Spot for the Lake of Rage, but I'm going to forgo those other trainers. That's just going to save a little bit of movement later, even though we're not against the clock. I don't want to have to do unnecessary movements, and we'll make our way into the Burnt Tower if we don't get concussion on the way. And we will go and take on rival number 3. This time he is going to lead with Haunter. I'm a little bit worried as well that Haunter is going to outspeed us, even if we're at the level cap. We'll see if the worries come to fruition. They do not. We one-shot the Haunter. We're going to get rid of the Magnemite as well. We'll swap to Thunderbolts for the Croconaw, one-shotting this time, and we'll finish off the Zubat as well. Very, very nice start to this. It seems like Lapras is unstoppable at the moment. I can't wait for when it all suddenly comes crashing down, because you know it will. It's just a case of where. We made a little bit of a detour en route to Morty to grab the Mint Berry to wake us up if that pesky Gengar sends us to sleep. I was thinking about the Mint Berry, and I can only imagine actually, that the Mint Berry works in the same way that like toothpaste and mouthwash does first thing in the morning, where you're still half asleep and then you think, actually my mouth's on fire, I'm going to be awake now till it cools down. Thank you for getting me prepped for the start of the day. Or at least that's how it goes in my brain. It could just be me. Let's take on Morty now though. So I have equipped the Aquafresh Berry and we are ready to take on Morty. He is our 4th gym leader. A Ghost and Poison type specialist leads with Ghastly. We're not getting outsped by the Ghastly, that's a very good sign. Not outsped by the Haunter either, that brings us on to Gengar. We are outsped and we've been sent to sleep, but we get the Gen 2 miss. I think it is now all over for Morty. That could have gone wrong if that second Hypnosis hit. I'm very glad it didn't, because that means we are able to progress even further with 20 points, 1/5 of our maximum number of points to our name. We've got a nice boost in level cap as well, so we're going to beat up some of the trainers around Olivine City before taking on Chuck. And at the very, very tippy top of the lighthouse, we do, of course, have that conversation with Jasmine. She's going to lie once again, saying that Amphie's sick, and I'm getting the feeling, you know, that Amphie is in on the act as well. We have just had our Ampharos egg moves run, and it seems to me like Ampharos is perfectly capable throughout the course of Generation 2, so maybe we've got our hands on a bit of a lying Ampharos as well. We'll have to do some more investigation. By the way, those title cards at the beginning of the video, I am starting to try and write a bit of a nonsense story about Jasmine, so do keep your eye on those. They're going to be all out of order and stuff. You're going to have to do a little bit of detective work yourself, but there is a storyline coming together in the most obscure place you can think of. It's glorious having an electric type move when you're crossing the open ocean, especially when you're not quite at the level cap that we've just reached now, because you can just beat up all of the marine life and the trainers Pokemon en route and get enough experience to hopefully see us through our next gym. Once again, the tag team's going to be a bit terrifying in this one. We have a chance of going down. We are just going to have to hope for the best and hope that double kick and then whatever Hitmonchan does isn't too bad. We can't get frozen, thank goodness, but there are still some things that could go wrong here. But we get through. Now this is the final gym trainer of the gym before taking on Chuck. Took a little bit of damage there from low kick, that's slightly worrying. But we will now take him on and see how badly it goes. This is one of the places where we could end up going down. Hopefully it won't happen. We will start off with an Ice Beam against the Primate. Leah has failed. That is a very positive start. Let's use a Thunderbolt and hope he goes for something like Lock On. He didn't. We get a short sleep and we get the luck we needed. Storm Badge going up to 23 points on the board. We can get the Air Balloon as well so that Missing No will be helping us fly here, there and everywhere. And we can start thinking about what we want to do for the next part of the challenge. And now as we're doing a little bit of housekeeping, I have just noticed that I've spelt the name Lapras wrong in all the files I'm using to get this video together. It's spelt as Larpas instead. And now all I can imagine is a donkey trying to live action roleplay as the Loch Ness Monster, which is a very, very weird sentence and one I never thought I'd say at the beginning of today, but here we are. Let's move on from that now, though, and take on the Gyarados. This will be a one-shot because we've got Thunderbolt. Very nice and simple there. We'll get the red scale and we'll have a little chat with Lance. Now, I am thinking, you know, to try and make the most of our experience, we could go off and face Jasmine at level 30. It is a bit of a risk, but I reckon it could pay off. And then we get all the experience from the Rocket section, instead of having to worry about gaining more experience later on in this challenge. I might end up regretting this, but we are at the tippy top of the lighthouse. Jasmine has pocketed that secret potion as she always does. We will take chase after her, and we'll see if this is a very big mistake. This is Jasmine, our 6th gym leader of the challenge, and she leads with Magnemite. If we one-shot the Magnemite, I'll feel fairly confident. We do one-shot both of them, we grow to level 31 just in time for the Steelix. We outspeed and we one-shot, so it seems like that was the right choice. We obtain the Mineral Badge. Now our level cap does go all the way up to 40. That is part of the rules of the challenge. We don't have to do the gym leaders in order, but we can get our level cap going up just as you would expect. So we're not going to get an increase in level cap for Pryce, but we will then be back in sync with the level cap for Clair and onwards. I've decided to record the electrode fights because there is a chance if one or more of these electrodes becomes a very powerful bomb that we go down. Hopefully that won't happen though, and we'll be able to get our next point for even more rocket shenanigans. It's very weird actually, there's the bomb. Oh, it was absolutely fine. I really do need to get better at estimating just how much damage these electrodes will do, because they are a bit pants really, aren't they? But that is the rocket section all done. We can take a heal and we can make our way into Pryce's gym. Now we are going to take on Border Douglas. We've got Thunderbolt, so it should be a fairly simple affair. And then we'll swap back to the Magnet actually for the Pryce battle. He isn't going for Protect on his Cloyster. Where is this kind of stuff when we are against the clock? Always happens. He doesn't stall when the time does not matter. We are going to use the Magnet now though, and we will take Pryce on. He is our next gym leader. He is an Ice type specialist, leads with Seal. One shot of the Seal as we go to level 34. It's probably going to be a 2-shot on the Dugong, but we crit, so in fact it is a 1-shot, and then we'll 1-shot the Piloswine. Very good stuff there. Pryce, 3 1-shots and the Glacier Badge. We can see that our points have gone up to 30, the level cap has stayed the same, which means my coding, even as ramshackle as it is, does work. I don't think I've ever shown this on camera, but in order to get my third PP up for Ice Beam, I'm picking this one up here on Route 45. It's one that's very out of the way, so we regularly skip it on our normal solo challenges, but I think in this one, it's definitely worth picking up. And now I've done enough dilly-dallying. It's rocket time. I'm not going to make you sit through it. Let's go to Rival 4. I went into Dark Cave and did a little bit of stat experience grinding because I am worried about Bruno. I'm thinking that far ahead. But hopefully that will also help us out a little bit against Rival number 4. He led with Golbat that went down straight away. We'll swap to Surf for the Magnemite. And here comes Haunter. We might as well continue using Surf against the Haunter. Don't have anything fantastic for the Sneasel, so we are going to take a teeny tiny bit of damage for its feint attack. Thunderbolt should get close to a one-shot, if not one-shot in exactly the Feraligatr, just like that. And that was a fairly pleasant Rival 4. I'm very glad we outspeed the Golbat there, because otherwise we could have been in for a particularly tough battle. We saw with Parasects that Rival 4 can be dangerous in these challenges. We're at the very top of the radio tower now, ready for our 33rd point. This is our final storyline point, and we have to take on this executive. It should be a very simple battle. 3 Surfs should be all it takes. We don't get outsped by the Houndoom there. And that gives us our 33rd point on the board. We are now a third of the way through the points for this challenge. So with the rockets taken care of, there is only one last thing left to do in Johto, and that is obtain our final gym badge. I've plonked on the Purze Berry for this battle just in case of any shenanigans with the Kingdra, because of course it does have Dragon Breath. We're not going to have to worry about getting paralysed by the Dragonair though. These should just be 3 one-shots apiece, and then we can think about the Kingdra. Hopefully we'll do a fair amount of damage. Maybe half, maybe under half. There's the Dragon Breath, and there is the Paralyze. That is why we were holding the Purze Berry, just in case, but we have defeated Clair, and we can get her badge. So just like with the Radio Tower quiz, we answer 11212, and that means we have passed the test. Clair gets very shocked, as she always does, that somebody knows how to actually raise Pokemon. She gives us a Rising badge, that gets us up to 36 points. Gives us an extra 2 levels on the level cap, and means we can now head towards the league. And now as we are en route to the league, I'm probably going to take on a lot of these trainers en route. This is kind of the Victory Road analogue routes 27 and 26. And I'm never quite sure how I feel about it, because on the one hand it is nice to have a cave where you can just do your movement and not have to worry about any kind of extra nonsense. Then it does kind of feel a little bit half-assed as well. What are your thoughts? Do you like having the trainers outside of Victory Road? Would you have preferred them to keep it to the traditional style that we've seen before and since? That's all of the trainers taken care of on the Victory Road analogue. Let's now go into Victory Road itself. We'll plonk on a Super Repel, and we will take on the 5th and final regular rival battle. You never know, we might end up taking on the 6th one, but I very much doubt it throughout the course of this challenge. I don't think this rival's going to prove to be too problematic either. He is going to lead with Sneasel this time. We've got Surf for the Sneasel, and we take it down in 1. We'll Surf on the Magneton as well, another nice one-shot, and we might as well Surf on the Haunter. 3 for 3 so far, let's make it 4 for 4 against Kadabra. And then we're probably not going to one-shot the Feraligatr, but we should be able to get a nice 2-shot and finish off with the Golbat as well. Oh goodness me, thought we could get away with a Thunderbolt there. That could have been incredibly disastrous, but we still got through. We are now at the Pokemon League. However, there are a couple of bits and bobs here in Johto that I did forget to pick up. So the first of them is going to be the Gold Berry. We will use the lantern here to get into the door, and I think it's this one here. That's just going to give us a little bit more insurance for Bruno. And then we also neglected to pick up the rare candy here at the Lake of Rage. Now that is a little bit frustrating because it means we have an extra trainer battle here, and that would be disastrous in one of our classic runs, but fortunately we don't have to worry too much about time here. So we'll get rid of him with his mid-stage Cantonian starters, and we will grab this rare candy. Might make all the difference in just a moment or two. But now we can hopefully teleport all the way back to the Pokemon League. We'll do our second heal, and we'll take a look at the stats of our Lapras. So here is how we are shaping up. We are level 42 with 181 HP. We're not holding anything at the moment. We are going to be holding a Bitter Berry in just a second though. With Surf, Thunderbolt, Attract and Ice Beam, the 4 moves that we picked at the start of the challenge. 92 in attack. Remember, we have not prioritised any attack stat experience whatsoever, and we have 0 DV in attack just in case we get confused. 104 in defense, 108 in special attack, 116 in special defense, and just 87 in speed. The speed stat is the stat that is worrying me the most at the moment, and hopefully we will be able to get through fairly easily. We are going to hold on to one of our 2 Bitter Berries. We got one from just outside Violet City, and we got one from just outside the Lake of Rage as well. Just before we take on the league, I am going to do some predictions, see just how well or badly I know this Lapras at this point in the challenge. Will should be fine. Maybe we get sent to sleep by Jinx and we get some issues caused there, but I think that is less likely than it is likely. Koga should be fine, could get Toxic stalled, but again, highly unlikely. Bruno is absolutely terrifying. There is a chance we lose the challenge at Bruno. Hopefully that will not happen. Karen, as always, is going to be a toss in the dark. It'll either work or it won't work for Karen. And then Lance should be very easy. If we get that far, there are a couple of places where we could easily lose this run. But that's enough faffing, let's get on with it. The nerves are starting to kick in as we take on Will. He is our first league member, a Psychic type specialist, leads with a Xatu. We outspeed the Xatu, thank goodness, and we knock it out in one. Here comes that Jinx I was talking about. Surf crits, so we don't need to worry, goodness me. Ice Beam will one-shot the Executor. It's probably going to be a 2-shot on the Slowbro, even if it uses Amnesia, which it does do. Yep, it is a 2-shot. And then we can Ice Beam the second Xatu. Turns out we outsped both of them. I need to brush up on my will numbers. Koga is second. He is the Poison type specialist, and he's going to lead with Ariados. I'm hoping that Ice Beam will be enough to one-shot, but it isn't. He uses Double Team, that's fine by us. I'm keeping on to the Bitter Berry because we can get confused here as well. We have 3 potential confusions during the league, but we only get 2 Bitter Berries on the way up to the league, so I'm very glad that we didn't need it for Will. Again, we don't have anything fantastic for Koga's Muck here, so we are getting Toxic stalled. We should one-shot the Crobat as long as we hit it. That is the only lost condition. We didn't have to worry about it though. We grow up to level 43, and we defeat Koga. That does mean we can do our heal now and start to prep for Bruno. We'll use a full restore. We're also going to get up to the level cap. I think we're going to need it for Bruno. And just in case we can survive, we will use a Gold Berry. I really don't want to do this battle. I don't want to go down to Bruno. That would be shameful. We've already lost to Bruno in recent times with the Darkrai regular challenge run, so I don't want my name besmirched by Bruno, honestly. We get through the Hitmontop and we've frozen the Hitmonlee. That is a fantastic start. We're going to surf now against this Hitmonchan. We are going to take 2 turns of damage, and that brings us on to the Machamp. Now, I've been doing a little bit of thinking. I took a pause to think about the strats, think about the odds, and I am going to attract this Machamp and hope that we don't take any cross-chop damage at all. That's a very good start. We can Ice Beam. Infatuation has worked. He gets caught in a healing loop. That is what we want, because then we can just one-shot the Onix. We are through Bruno. That is one of the biggest threats gone. And that does mean we can do our prep work for Karen. I think we're going to have to do this in a very specific order, you know. We'll start off with a full restore. Then we will use one of our rare candies that we can, and then we'll HP up. because I think otherwise we might have been stuck at 199 HP and the HP up wouldn't have worked. That does mean we can also give the Bitterberry to our Lapras. And then after remembering to use an elixir as well, we can take Karen on. She is our final Elite Four member, a Dark-type specialist, leads with Umbreon. We're going to attract the Umbreon. Confuse Ray has hit. That does mean that the HP up strategy has worked. We'll Ice Beam the Umbreon, and she's confused us again. How rude of her. Faint Attack does little damage at all, and we are no longer confused. We should one-shot the Vileplume, and we can move on to Gengar. We're probably going to get cursed by this Gengar, but that does mean we can finish it off with an Ice Beam. We'll outspeed and one-shot the Murkrow, and the last Pokemon is Houndoom. I think we are good now for the end of the league. I think Lapras is making it into the Hall of Fame. We get through Karen very, very easily. Let us now take on Lance. He is the liar with the flyers. He has a penchant for Pokemon weak to either Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, or Surf, so we're in for a very good time. We one-shot the Gyarados, we outspeed the Dragonites, we get rid of the first one. He tries again with the second one because he's not learnt his lesson, and that brings us on to Aerodactyl. Rock Slide misses, this is perfect luck. We get through, and we can Surf against the Charizard. We grow to level 49, there is just one Pokemon left to go. It's his final Dragonite, we use a 4-time super effective move, and Lapras is halfway through. 64 points on the board for the Jotonian section. We get ourselves into the Hall of Fame, and we can be very proud of our progress. Don't forget though, this is potentially just half of the story. There is up to another 8 gym badges plus the red fight left to come, so don't you dare go anywhere, because Kanto is next. And now we are rejoining the action as we always do here in Vermilion City, where we are going to get through the storyline so we can figure out exactly which order we want to battle our Cantonian gym leaders in. And I think today it's going to be very important to be incredibly careful with who we take on, because a trainer like Lieutenant Surge, I think it actually happened in our last Lapras run. We ended up going down at Surge because we took him on too early. So it is imperative that we get the correct trainers and the correct leaders in the correct order. There is a few bits and bobs we need to do before we even think about that though. Because we are doing a SuperMON challenge, it does mean that we can go all around the houses, getting all of the storyline taken care of, and then we'll have our choice of gym leaders. And it is incredibly pleasant to not have to do Rock Tunnel in the dark at the moment. Even though I think I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty good at it in the dark, it is nice not having to worry. Some things never change though, we still need to keep our teleport spot in that Pokemon Center, otherwise we're going to have to do all of that pesky movement again. I really do not like the idea of doing all that movement again, so instead we'll just have to go straight into Misty's gym. We will grab the machine parts here, and then we will take it back to the owner of the power plant. And now is the time where I start to fret slightly, wondering, did I remember to pick up the radio card? I'm not even going to look at the Pokegear. I'm going to make it a mystery as soon as we are in front of that Snorlax. We will use another Max Repel, that will get us hopefully all the way to Viridian City. And we will go in here, have a little chat with the manager, get Zap Cannon, which was a consideration actually for the Learn set. If things didn't go well with Thunderbolt, you never know, we might end up using that if we take a redo, because we are not guaranteed actually to get the win yet. We're not guaranteed to even get as far as Red. And now that we have the expansion card, we did get the radio card, that means we can wake up this Snorlax and make it run for the hills and get through Diglett's cave. This does mean as well, it is time for everyone's favourite. It's time for 3Drill. We've not seen 3Drill in a while on the channel, at least a couple of videos, so we will say hello to him. I hope he's doing very, very well. He is going to give us some delicious experience points just for knocking out his Beedrill, and while we're in the area, I don't think we're going to have any problems at all taking on Brock. so we will cross him off of our list. I don't think he gives any badge boosts in this generation, but he is a little bit out of the way, so we will take him on and see how we do. This is Brock, our first Kantonian gym leader, leads with Graveler. Of course, it's going to be a one-shot on the Graveler. We've got Thunderbolts for his fossils. Kabutops goes down. Omastar is going to go down in much the same way if he doesn't keep on switching. Goodness me, switching and swapping and protecting and getting me all kinds of thrown. We get rid of that pesky Omastar, and eventually, though, we will get rid of the Rhyhorn, and that should be that. Brock defeated, first Kantonian badge on the board, and considering we are in the west of Kanto, we shall carry on going further south. We need to have a little chat with Blue anyway, get him back to his gym, because he's being a little bit pesky, not being close to his gym. Of course, he is lamenting the fact that a volcano that came out of nowhere has gone kaboom on Cinnabar Island. It's not our fault, we still want to get his badge. And Blaine doesn't have a fly point, we've got enough surfs to take him on. We will start against the Macargo, take it down in a single hit. Then up next is the Bumhead Fireduck, again it's going to be a single hit. Rapidash might outspeed, but then again, it might not. 3-1 hits, gets rid of Blaine. We obtain our second badge, 70 points on the board, and we'll continue to Fuchsia. Fuchsia is, of course, the home of Janine. She is going to be our third Kantonian gym leader. She is the specialist in nepotism and also poison types on the side. She withdrew her Crobat, but that just means we'll one-shot her Ariados instead. And this is just going to be an exercise in holding down the Ice Beam button and getting through very, very easily. I don't think there's anything at all that Janine can do. But these Kantonian gym leaders are having a right old time switching today. I've never seen them switch quite as much as this. Another 3 points to add to our total, and we can move on out of here. Now, for our next gym leader, we are going to take on Erica. We have the type advantage, at least offensively, over her, so I don't think she'll be too bad, and it'd be nice to get her out of the way. She's another one of those gym leaders. She's a little bit tucked away in a corner. We can also grab the leftovers and another PP up while we are here, and we are going to plonk both of these onto our Lapras straight away. We will use the PP up on Thunderbolt just in case we need to paralyze something later and brute force it, and we'll hold on to the leftovers. Let us now get through this tree and into Erica's gym, where she is going to be our fourth and midpoint for our Kantonian gym leaders. She's a grass type specialist, leads with Tangela. Of course, it's going to be a one-shot on Tangela with quad super effective against Jumpluff, and we are through half of her party. Victory Bell goes down in one, and Blossom is last. We one-shot to get through Erica very, very easily. 76 points acquired, and we can move on out of here. Let us now head straight away, via Missing No of course, to Cerulean City. This is where Misty lives. She is the water type specialist. She's got a Lapras, much like us actually, and she's going to lead with her Golduck. We'll Thunderbolt the Golduck, we knock it out in one, and up second is Quagsire. We've got Surf for Quagsire. That's a nice easy one shot as we grow to 55. It's Lapras versus Lapras. We'll use Thunderbolt. She's gone for Perish Song. That isn't great. There is a chance we could go down, but we outspeed the Starmie, so that chance has disappeared. Misty, you got very close in some ways to ending our run, but you did not succeed. 79 points acquired, and now we've got 3 gym leaders left, none of which I fancy facing. Out of the lot of them, I think we will take on Sabrina next. She is in theory the easiest of the 3 remaining gym leaders we've got. She is a Psychic type specialist who leads with Espeon. Now, it's probably not going to be a one-shot on the Espeon, but very close. Sand Attack is annoying, but we do have a lot of bulk behind us. Psychic didn't drop our Spadef, and we can move on to Mr. Mime. We paralyse the Mr. Mime as it uses Barrier, and we'll finish it off, hopefully, with an Ice Beam if one connects. And we are not getting the luck we need. That's 3 in a row. Our 4th Ice Beam does connect. Let's move on to Alakazam. We're going to use a Surf, hopefully take it down in one shot, but we do not. She's healing, and we are back to missing. We high roll this time, we get through Sabrina. That wasn't a pleasant or clean battle, but we live to fight another day with 82 points to our name. That brings us on to our penultimate gym leader for today, and that is going to be Lieutenant Surge. He lives here in Vermilion City's gym, and we are going to use our last 2 rare candies to get up to the level cap. We will take him on and we'll see how we do. This is Surge, the electric type specialist who leads with Raichu. We outspeed the Raichu, we knock it out in 1, and we're on to Magneton. We get rid of the Magneton, so the big threats of the battle are now completely gone. He's only got 2 Electrode left. These just about don't outspeed. We knock them out in 1 hit apiece, and we had nothing to worry about at all with Surge. 85 points on the board. We can now move on to Blue, who lives here in Viridian City, and he is going to be our final gym leader of the challenge. He is worth another 5 points, and then we have Red to make us up to the 100. So this is Blue, our final gym leader of the challenge, and he's going to lead with Pidgeot. We'll use an Ice Beam against the Pidgeot, and it will go down in 1. Up second is Alakazam. We are going to use an Ice Beam. Reflect is meaningless. Recovers absolutely fine as well. It just means we can turn our attention to the Rhydon. Take no risks here. We'll use a Surf, guarantee the 1-shot, and then we can guarantee the 1-shot, hopefully, on the Gyarados as well. That brings us on to Executor. We have Ice Beam for Executor. I love our coverage in this particular challenge. And then we can Surf on the Arcanine. So Blue, another easy gym leader. Earth Badge acquired, Candy Jar also acquired, and another 5 points on the board. And I will just explain in case you've missed it in the previous SuperMON challenges. As soon as we defeat Blue, we get access to an infinite rare candy in the form of the Candy Jar. That is so that I don't then have to spend an hour or so grinding the league and other miscellaneous trainers in order to meet Red's level cap. It just gives a little bit of an easier time for creating these challenges. And now that the Candy Jar is used, we are up to our new level cap of 81. I am considering dropping it because the Pikachu is not fully evolved, but technically the level cap is 81. Let me know actually if you want me to drop it to the level of his highest fully evolved Pokemon instead, because those 3 levels or so, could be 4 levels, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but those levels could actually make all of the difference, especially when it comes to things like outspeeding the Pikachu. But now we have had a little chat with Professor Oak, and that means that Silver Cave is unlocked, and we are ready to find out whether Lapras is in fact a SuperMON. And now that we are in Silver Cave, we can get ourselves in front of Red. Before we take him on, we will take a look at our stats. We're level 81 with 347 HP, holding the leftovers with Surf, Thunderbolt, Attract and Ice Beam. We've had those moves ever since the start of the challenge. 179 in attack, 202 in defense, 209 in special attack, 225 in special defense, and 168 in speed. Now, if you're wondering about our stat experience, we got 30,000 or thereabouts in our HP, 34,500 in our attack, 46,000 in defense, 44,000 in speed, and 43,000 in our special. And so it is now or never. Will we defeat Red, and will Lapras become our 3rd SuperMON? We'll Surf the Pikachu, that's a very nice start. We'll swap to Ice Beam for the Espeon as it uses Psychic. It didn't get a Spadef drop, so we knock it out in 2. Here comes the Snorlax. Snorlax can be very, very, very pesky, but we've frozen it on the perfect turn. Goodness me. I think we have another SuperMON on our hands, folks. That was the perfect bit of luck there. Blastoise comes out, it can't hit us very hard at all. We are instead going to 2-shot it with a Thunderbolt. The last Pokemon is Charizard. It's a mere formality as we outspeed and use Surf, and we say that Lapras is a SuperMON. And that means we can add another SuperMON on to the leaderboard. I've decided to place it higher than both Gengar and Clefable because that run was buttery, buttery smooth. attract saved the day where it needed to be, and we got through very, very, very easily. But with that, we are done for another one, so I really hope you've enjoyed this SuperMON challenge. If you have, make sure to leave a like. If you want to see these videos a little bit early, as soon as they are ready, then you can join the channel membership and become a HM friend. Of course, if you want to see more just like this, click the subscribe button. Any feedback at all for the run, leave it in the comments down below. And until next time, when we're running another Pokemon through the challenge, I will say thank you all so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.